What's going on, Geeks and Geekettes? It's another episode of the Countdown to the Geekcast. My name is Ted, aka Steady, and joining me on this weekly episode is the one and only Big Mike.
What's up, guys? Big Mike from the WrestleCast. I won't do my little rhyming thing like I normally do, but it's good to be here. You know, I like talking Marvel and Secret Invasion. It's a good start.
We got a great show for you guys. Talking Secret Invasion, the premiere, which came out today. We will let you know, before we start that discussion, when you need to pause this video if you haven't seen it yet and you want to avoid spoilers. So stick around for that. We also have movie passes for San Antonio residents for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. So please hang on. If you're here waiting for those, give us a few minutes. Give us a few minutes. We'll get to that for sure. And we're also going to be talking about geeky weekly headlines, just a couple of things that have popped up around the geek universe. And but first, before we do that, just a quick word from our sponsor, Real Retro. Shout out to the team over there at Real Retro for being awesome. If you haven't been to Real Retro, they are at the Eisenhower flea market, and they have pretty much anything you can think of from like the 70s through the 90s, pop culture wise, movie wise, music wise, merchandise, t shirts, toys, action figures, like anything you can imagine from your like childhood past. It's all there over at Real Retro. Shout out to them. We have some folks in the chat. Feisty Manx 1313 says,
What's up,
"What's
man?
up?"
Put your
And
feet up and
about
pop a
to
crispy one. I like it.
put those feet up.
Kick back and relax,
Me,
buddy,
I'm
because it
lagging.
is way too hot outside to be doing anything else. So get inside and get cool. Yep.
I think the thermometer said like
I saw like
112 on the
106. Oh,
dashboard
maybe.
driving
Yeah, it might
home.
have been. I was like, I saw 106 earlier, but I don't think that's what it feels like. So it's much hotter than that.
That is
Ridiculous.
absolutely. Yeah, so it's absolutely insane out there. Um Also, before we get to any of our topics tonight, want to make sure that everybody is completely aware that you can find the entire Countdown City Geeks team over at
Dun dun dun.
oh, it's not sharing it. Stand by,
No.
stand by. Over at Superhero
Hey,
Comic Con and Car Show 2023. Come see us. Come visit us.
come
Shake our
join us,
hands.
guys.
Yeah, we'll play chess or checkers and we'll talk about movies and geeky stuff. Our entire group's going to be out there over the weekend. We're going to be covering the event, giving you guys a look behind the scenes at what's happening with the panels and everything. We're also going to be having giveaways, like ton of giveaways from all of our sort of our outlets. So you'll have everybody from Star Wars Stuff Podcast, Ghost Heads Radio, the Countdown City WrestleCast, Jenna Kenobi's Bunker, Legacy of Nerd. Everybody with the Geek team is going to be there. It's going to be an absolute blast. This is what I've been telling people is like the unofficial Avengers Con in San
Yeah,
Antonio.
no
I
kidding.
cannot believe we have this like level of an event in this town, but it's going to be so awesome. Just talked to the promoter yesterday, and they're having such great ticket sales. Like they're just so excited for this to happen.
And I know they're also doing a panel with Kit Harrington and Amelia Clark. Someone there, if you go to ours and the superhero social medias, they're asking for questions for the different panels. Someone throw in there. I haven't done it. I might need to ask them for their retconned version of the final season and what actually happens in Game of Thrones. Because I was on this show a couple years ago when we talked about that finish. We all know how salty I am about that. But you got two of the two stars together. Also, I think for like the first time. doing a panel and pictures together. So let's get what they wanted as the end. That's where I'm at.
Man, I can't imagine asking that question. I'm sure they would just be like, "I really don't want to talk about that
Yeah.
anymore."
I mean, no, but that'd be fun.
That would be a blast. Measures is in chat. Says Farmer Ted, and she says, "Need me to help with the booth? I will keep you in mind. I will let you know about that." But we're just gonna have a blast. We will be releasing information as we get closer to the event. We're a little over 2 weeks away from it, and panel schedules are right now in the works. So, sort of finalizing those details, and we'll let you guys know exactly what's up. But Superhero Comic Con and Car Show, if you are on the fence about going to this event, I don't understand why.
Don't
Even
be.
if you don't have the money to like maybe get an autograph or photo op, I feel your pain. I've been there, trust me. Just go, watch the panels, play the free games, buy the unlimited popcorn buckets. You're going to have a blast. Your family is too. Put on
Yeah,
your cosplays and your outfits, and you're just going to have an incredible time. Unofficially, Avengers Con 2023, Superhero
seriously.
Comic Con and Car Show.
Interact with the
Man,
people, come visit us. If y'all if y'all are planning to do cool cosplays, come stop by the tables because every time I've gone to a con, just so amazed at all the variety and the depth and attention people will put into their cosplays, the variations of characters, all the different things. So yeah, like again, like Ted said, if you don't got the money or as much to spend, I get it. I'm in the same boat. I'm looking at all these picture sets and I'm like, I don't think I can get them. But go interact with people. I mean, it's fun. Even just like going to walk around the different booths and all the stuff being sold. You know, you might just have to stop yourself from pulling your wallet out, but it'll be fun.
Medra says, I know. Why is it not popping up for us?
What'd you do,
Stand
Ted?
by, stand by. Ooh, this thing is finicky today.
Mm.
She says, "I know y'all are about superheroes and stuff, but Haley Steinfeld as Dickinson was so good. I heard that actually was pretty good. I
I've
didn't
seen
even
that.
get a chance to see it. Have you seen that one?"
No, but I mean, she's an amazing actress, and like, I don't doubt she would kill it in any role that she's doing. I heard it's a really good a series with her there. So yeah, I mean, she'll be there. I'm sure she wouldn't mind taking a question or two about that. So throw them up there.
There you go. There you go. All right. If you have any more questions about that, please go to pmxevents.com for all the information. If there's anything other than that that you want answered, reach out to us. We've been partnering with this organization since they've started, like back in 2018. Fantastic group of individuals. I know it's going to be another successful, well run event, and so we're just so stoked, and we're so happy to be a part of it. Thanks to them again for letting us be a part of this.
Yeah.
Come see us again at our booth.
Also, real quick, I think if you check their social medias, they said they're going to be having an app coming out soon to work with all the stuff there and kind of get your schedules and stuff. So keep an eye on their social medias as well, especially if you're planning to go, because there should be an app coming up soon, and hopefully that'll make your time there more efficient. You get to see more cool things.
Absolutely. Let's get to the geeky weekly headlines,
What do
and
we
I'm not
got?
sure if Mike is stoked for this one yet, but we just got a logo reveal for the
No,
Penguin coming to Max. Mike, your thoughts on the Penguin?
no, I got to tell you what, I was actually impressed with the Pattinson Batman, or as another podcast I've heard him called Batterson. So it, what's the actor's name? Uh, Colin Farrell, right?
Colin Farrell, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. No, I found it really interesting. I like that movie. Um, I think this will be interesting. Max series kind of hit and miss depending on what they're doing. Um, but I think the world they built within that Batman movie should make this pretty intriguing. And that that's kind of a step for Colin Farrell, like a kind of out there character that you wouldn't really think of for him. But I think he did really well in that movie. So I would be interested to see him kind of flesh that out and see more of it.
I'm I'm curious about what the premise is going to be. You really can't have Penguin going up against Gotham PD as like the main focus because that's kind of what happens in the Batman too, right? Like they're a part of it
Mm.
and all that good stuff. So I don't expect Gordon to be like the focus of this. If you start having Gordon too much in it, then you can't have Bruce too much in it. So is it really just going to be about Penguin trying to take over all of organized crime in Gotham?
I
I'm sure there's a
Yeah,
compelling story in there somewhere. Um, so I'm gonna stay open minded,
right.
see what happens.
No, I agree with you. I think, like, even if you look at like the video games and stuff, the idea of his rogues gallery fighting amongst themselves, fighting for Gotham City, like you said, I think that's always an intriguing idea too. Like, not only do you get the kind of super villainies, but you also just have like the crime bosses, like Falcone's always involved in those things and stuff like that. So, I if you are not going to focus on him versus the PD, or obviously him versus Batman, then I think the other logical area would be to him trying to gain more power with all those other forces that are involved there. I like that idea.
I think, like I said, I feel like there is a compelling story in there somewhere.
Yeah,
That remains to be seen. Matt Reeves, though, is talented and he can pull it off. I have faith in him. When people ask me, like, "Hey, didn't you love the Batman?" I really liked it and I really enjoyed it, but like I wasn't fully invested in what was happening. And that's okay. You don't always have to be
is that because it did
completely
connect to the
invested in what
Snyderverse?
you're seeing on screen, but that sort of occurrence kind of brings movies to like a top tier for me. When you actually have me caring about what happens as opposed to just watching and being entertained. And so I want to love the Batman, but I can't get there.
Would you feel different if
Um
they re-released a 4-hour cut in parts on HBO Max?
I don't know, man. I really don't know. I think all in all, just like I kind of said this about there's a different movie. I think it was I'm not gonna remember. It might have been Man of Steel. No, I
Thought
can't
you loved
remember.
that.
I do love Man of Steel. I really do. Actually though, it has gotten like better over the years. Every year it kind of gets better and better. But I was going to say about the Batman, there has to be a certain component that is enjoyable. And enjoyable doesn't mean like it's funny or comical. The Dark Knight, as an example, which I know I'm throwing out the biggest comic book movie of all time, right? But The Dark Knight wasn't necessarily like comical throughout, but it was like enjoyable watching Heath Ledger
Yeah,
as the Joker. Did I say The Dark Knight? Yeah,
The
I
Dark
said The
Knight.
Dark Knight.
That's
Cool.
yeah.
Yeah. So even though like, Batman's not making jokes, like you would get the hero making jokes in a Marvel movie, to kind of keep you lighthearted or keep the tone sort of from hitting the bottom of the barrel there. Heath Ledger's Joker was like so amusing no
Yeah.
matter what he was doing. So he doesn't have to be you don't need comical relief when you have a character that's just so damn entertaining by himself. And
N-
so you make it enjoyable. You incorporate that enjoyability by doing that. And I just bring that up to say like there wasn't anything really enjoyable throughout the Batman with Robert Pattinson. It was gritty, dark, raw. I love it. Very Seven like. I love Seven, the movie that is, and I there's not that extra level to kind of keep me engaged the entire time. But
hmm,
not to say it's a bad movie, just saying doesn't hit that upper echelon for me.
it's not top tier. Shout out to
Not
top
top
tier
tier.
Tommy. I know you're somewhere. If y'all watch the WrestleCast, I'm on Tommy's side now. That was a revelation last week, but we'll talk about that more later tonight.
There you go. Absolutely. Let's see. Let's keep it in the DC Comics wheelhouse,
I guess.
shall we? Flash director Andy Muschietti will take on the Batman Brave and the Bold movie with his sister Barbara producing. Now, this is still very interesting because this was announced right before the Flash released, and yes, the box office has not been stellar. They were around 10 to 12 million under projections for the weekend, depending on whether or not you include that Monday holiday. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But all in all, it doesn't look like Flash is going to live up to the expectations Warner Brothers had. Do you put that on the director? Is it enough to remove him from this project? Is it just a multitude of other occurrences? But that kind of remains to be seen. It feels like James Gunn is going to stick to his guns, no pun intended, and Andy will continue to develop and direct this movie eventually. Um, Mike, I know you haven't seen The Flash yet, but Andy also directed the previous It reboot, so maybe that's a good indication of whether or
Yeah.
not you feel
I,
he can take this one on.
I mean, to me, the thing is like, and I think you've mentioned this in different ways before. WB needs some stability with their DC universe slate, whatever you want to call it, their whatever movies. You just decided, like in the last year, to put James Gunn and Peter. Is it Peter? What's the other guy? There's two of them. I know Gunn
Peter
gets all
Safran, yeah.
the. There you go. I know Peter. I know Gunn gets all like the recognition because he's a little more well known. But it's those two guys. You got to give them time. I mean, if they're gonna do this, and then hopefully, I mean, I would think Gunn would stick to at least his plan for a couple years. If WB comes in right away and goes, "Oh well, Flash didn't do well, so you got to find someone else for the," then you haven't changed anything. Then you're just still this. And for those who have, because I haven't been on the Geekcast in a while, me and Steady have this long kind of standing joke about the Snyderverse and DC movies. Um, and I don't hate DC. I just there was all the mess with the Snyderverse, and then every movie afterwards was like, "Ah, DC's back on track. Ah, DC's back on track," and it wasn't. And again, totally on WB. Like all jokes aside, they just can't get their stuff together. Um, and since the beginning, they need to stop trying to react to Marvel and decide what they want to build. So if you're going to give, kind of back to my original point, if you're going to give James Gunn and the other guy Peter the reins, give them
Yeah.
the reins and give them some time to let them build what they're going for. Because if you just instant react every time something is not good, I mean, even in putting Peter Gunn, I keep messing up the James Gunn and the other guy into that position, it affected Shazam. It affected Black Adam. Also, The Rock affected Black Adam and stuff, but that's a whole other road to go down. But yeah, like keep him on. If that's what his plan is, let him do the movie and let this build for something. Because if you're just continuously messing things around, switching directors, firing people, there's no consistency. And even though I think there may be some, there's a part of the superhero comic movie fans that are maybe getting a little tired of Marvel stuff now because, there's so much in the last couple years or whatever. It's not going to make it any better for DC though. If it's like, oh, we got this, we had this movie, they're not actually connected. James Gunn came out and said Blue Beetle is the first character of the new thing, but not the first movie. I don't know what that means. Like, so is Blue Beetle a movie that you're just going to take him out of, and the movie's not going to have any? I don't know. Like, you need some consistency. You need to have a vision. If you're going to pick James Gunn and the other guy, you got to stick with it for a while.
I feel like you're absolutely right. And unfortunately, I kind of said this on Twitter the other day. Um, and this is not me turning on the Snyder fan base, but there definitely is some relief or joy in seeing a DC project fail that may or may not, I say that genuinely, may or may not be ending the quote unquote Snyderverse. I I put some stuff online and I was just like, when does it end? Right? Like, are we just destined to half the fan base want the next DC movie to fail because it is or is not on your team? Um, when they kind of mention like, oh, James Gunn's coming on board, and we're gonna take out Affleck of this, or we're gonna take out Wonder Woman of that, and we're not gonna do any Henry Cavill movies. You also had the other half, the anti Snyder fan base, being happy about that. Good, they said. Let's move on, they said. Let's, erase everything, they said. And it's like, look where we are now. Now we're fighting over whether or not the Flash is gonna break even. It's just like it sucks that we're now in this unfortunate situation where you're never gonna have the fan base um acting as one, because you either on one side that wants the non-Snyder content to fail, and you want the other side that wants the non-Snyder content to succeed. And it's like, I don't see a way this is going to end. I really don't. I didn't want James Gunn to do a hard reset because I wanted to avoid this type of situation. A soft reboot, that was weird. A soft reboot over a few years where you can close the Snyderverse in a more way would kind of slowly bring the mast back together. And I just don't see it now. I don't see how it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, but at the same time, I don't think you bring in James Gunn to finish someone, to bring someone else's or the other version to a close and then start his. Like if you're bringing him in, you're changing your direction. You want him to have his vision. Um, so I think it would be kind of difficult to do that. I again, in the end, this just comes down to WB as a studio not being able to take care of their stuff, handle it, have any kind of vision or direction. Um, and then on top, I mean, you can go back to all the stuff with the racism and the stuff that was involved with Justice League and the executives there that got kicked out eventually and all that stuff. But it's almost like you would need to stop making DC movies for like 5 years before you start again, just to kind of give a little gap of getting that taste out of their mouth. Because I mean, your average fan, they're like, "Oh, well, the Flash, is that connected with Shazam or Black Adam, which they were supposed to be connected, but The Rock only wants to fight Superman." Like, it's just every time you turn around.
Yeah.
So
I I hope that there's some sort of reconciliation on the horizon. I don't see it. I don't see it. Maybe Blue Beetle. Maybe Blue Beetle, both sides can come together and be like, "Hey, that's not Snyderverse. Hey, that's not Snyderverse." So we can go and enjoy this movie because Jaime Reyes is a character that deserves to be seen. Like,
yeah,
Blue Beetle's a fantastic hero. Jaime Reyes is a great character. There's a great family dynamic about it. Um, they can play this a number of ways, and I just hope that it'll do well enough that the studio can see potential in that character and we can see him going forward. If not, it's gonna end up like the Flash, and
and we'll be here
now
in another
we're
couple years with another. Oh, where do we go now? Are we rebooting this again? Or yeah,
I also don't know if James Gunn hangs around. I think there's enough stress for.
that's yeah.
I think this is enough stress for anybody, and I think he's a fantastic. writer, director. He clearly knows his stuff. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is one of my favorite movies
It was amazing.
ever,
Yes.
but this is maybe too much for any one person to kind of handle, and all this weight on your shoulders of managing the studio, managing this fan base. I mean, just everything galore, left and right. Honestly, I mean, imagine he feels like he can't say or do anything right, because if he says one thing, half the fan base freaks out. If he says another
Mhm.
thing, half of the fan base freaks out. I mean, now we're arguing over cameos in the latest DC film, um, which these type of things have been happening forever. I don't know why it's all of a sudden like the worst possible thing that they've done. There's been cameos in Star Wars. There's been cameos in Ghostbusters, all done very respectfully and with the permission of either those actors before they had passed, or the family members who agreed in the manner in which they were being portrayed. And so I just feel like it's never going to end. There's always something with this company.
Yeah.
Matty B is in the chat saying he's saying too much. That's the point. Looking back at
Mhm.
his State of the Union a few months back, he looks silly. It probably was too soon, honestly. It
Matty B
probably
says,
was
"Say less."
say less. It probably
Literally.
was too soon. He probably should have waited till, like, the day after Aquaman premieres, right? And that way, none of these movies are in question, just
You're not wrong, but I doubt people would have allowed him to. I think he would have started getting bugged and questioned, and people coming after him. So, like you said, it kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. And it's just a tough situation. So we'll see what goes on.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's see. Yeah, let's go ahead and do it.
What are we doing?
A new Sony Marvel picture released a trailer, and so we're gonna kind of watch that at the moment. Let me just get this queued up here. Of course, I'm talking about Craven the Hunter, featuring Aaron Taylor Johnson. And I'm going to warn you, if you have little ones around watching this stream with you, you might want to shield their eyes, or wait till this trailer is over, because it is a doozy. All right, here is the trailer and our reaction to Craven the Hunter.
My son, never show mercy. They are prey. We are predators. Boys, your mother is dead.
She died because you sent her away.
She was weak, sick in her mind. You know my business, yes? Power is about strength. If you show weakness, you will give our enemies an opening. Shoot. Shoot. He is weak, like his mother. Leave him.
What happened that day?
I stared death in the face, and for the first time, I saw my true self.
Tell me about this hunter.
They say he uses a connection with animals to track his prey. And once you're on his list, there's only one way off.
There's 6 of us and only one of you.
There's 6 of you now.
do you hunt?
My father puts evil into the world. I take it out.
I think you're some kind of honor. You are exactly like our father. Just another man hunting for a trophy.
We're murderers. Isn't that what he taught us?
You don't get to do that to me anymore.
Mr. Taglin? Mr. Taglin? Where's Mr. Taglin?
Oh, you're standing in him.
You're a goddamn lunatic.
Oh, you just figured that out now?
There is an animal in each one of us.
Don't you want to know why they call me the Rhino?
Man, oh man, was I not kidding when I said shield your children's eyes while watching that? Mike, your initial thoughts of Craven the Hunter trailer?
If this was not called Craven the Hunter and not connected to the Spider Verse or the Spider Man, it looked like it'd be a pretty cool movie. I don't know why Sony is determined to make all of Spider Man's villains anti hero, kind of good guys. I'm pretty like, okay, I'm not the most hardcore of comic book readers. So if I'm wrong, please jump in and tell me so. I don't think Craven's like a conservationist, like caring about the animals. I'm pretty sure he's just a hunter that hunts all kinds of animals because he's a villain, if not all the time, the majority of the time. I don't know why Sony feels the need to do this. Very similar with Venom, and I just don't trust outside of Spider-Man itself. I just don't trust Sony as much with these things. Both Venom movies were and this seems like it might wind up along the same line. Where are we going? Like Spider-Man's going to be like, are we fighting or teaming up together, guys? We all want to save the world, don't we? I think his voice finally gets deeper by the time we get to Spider-Man 4 or 5.
Yeah, you know what? The trailer is absolutely brutal, which is, kind of cool in itself. Rated R, Craven the Hunter movie can't be a bad thing, right? Um, I'm wondering, and I hope I'm gonna be wrong about this. I kind of wish that they didn't go with Aaron Taylor Johnson. I mean, I think he's great in the other roles that he's been in, but he's always had this sort of youth about him, even in his voice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Craven feels like so much more of like a big figure, imposing figure,
Hmm.
and I don't know if Aaron fits that bill for me. So I understand this is like an origin story. Maybe he
Yeah.
gets recast, or maybe they portray the character different later on. But we'll see what happens. Sony throws darts. Sometimes they hit bullseye. Sometimes they miss the board.
Yeah.
Morbius missed the board, and then you have things like
What are you talking about?
um,
They brought that back to theaters because the crowd demanded it.
it's Morbin time.
It's
Oh man. And then they have things like Cross the Spider Verse, which is like an all time classic. So I don't know, man. We'll see what happens.
yeah.
We want to hear from you guys. Let us know your thoughts on Craven the Hunter. Are you excited about this movie, or are you not excited about this movie? Drop your thoughts in the chat, or you can always message us on Facebook by clicking that send message button, or you can email us on the contact page of our website at www.countdowntothegeeks.com. All right, folks. Some of you guys will be watching this stream in particular because you are waiting on our next giveaway, and it is now here. If you are hoping for passes to Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny
Dun, dun, dun,
in
dun, 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 dun. Don't copyright
thank
that,
you, Mike.
people.
Yeah, please don't shut us down, Disney. Don't shut us down. If you would like to take a guest to see the next Indiana Jones film featuring Harrison Ford and a slew of other fantastic cast members, now is your chance. All you need to do is click on the link in the chat that I'm about to drop, and then follow the instructions, and that'll give you an opportunity to win passes to the advanced screening of Indiana Jones
There we go.
and the Dial of Destiny. This will be at the River Center AMC River Center 11 Theater, IMAX downtown in San Antonio. No purchase necessary, of course, but I must remind you, these seats are first come, first serve. So if you win passes, please arrive early. I'd say at least an hour and a half or more early to guarantee your seats, because these seats are limited and are not guaranteed by any means. All right. So the link is in the chat. Good luck to all. Hope to see you there. And Harrison Ford, can't wait to see him on the big screen again. Mike, are you excited to see Ford do his thing one more time?
I'm interested to see it because I do feel, at least in the Indiana Jones world, like we talked about before we came on, the last time we saw him was Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and that was not the best indie movie. Not because of Harrison Ford, because of other things and the story in general. But it's hard not to have loved the first three Indiana Jones movies. Like, my favorite is The Last Crusade. The third one, I love that movie. Um, and it's still Harrison Ford. The guy's almost 80, if not 80 now, and he still just like comes across with that presence. Even when he was, finishing up the Han Solo character and in Star Wars a couple years, it's probably been more than a couple years ago now. He's still Harrison Ford, and I'm sure they're going to play into and joke with the fact that Indy is old, even within this. I don't know how far they advance. I don't know where the story takes place time wise, so he may not be able to punch any more Nazis. Um, but maybe we'll find a couple of old ones and go punch them too. So, um, but yeah, like, and also, guys, like, even if you're not sure about the movie, it's free passes and it's on an IMAX. So, I mean, how could you go wrong there? Even if you're like, the movie wasn't that great, you didn't have to pay to go see it, and you get to see it on an IMAX. So that would be, that would be pretty cool. So,
Absolutely. The only downside would be like you had to pay for parking, but
I
they also
was
validate.
gonna say
So
validate,
get your
yeah.
get your tickets validated. So parking is free, and
And
go
also,
grab a meal beforehand or something downtown. Yeah,
yeah,
go do
that's
that.
like 2.5 to 3 hours. You're going to be inside, not outside. So that's a positive. Sure, they got air
Yes,
conditioning.
most of the time these screenings they have you wait outside of the theater, and I will admit that's the one big positive aspect of doing screenings at this IMAX theater, is that the line, you get to wait inside the mall, you get to
Yeah,
go get some food, get a beverage or a coffee while you're waiting.
right.
No issues there. So yeah, absolutely. Make sure you say hi to us if you see us down there at the screening, and good luck to everybody. Enjoy. If you just missed all of that, go to countdowntothegeeks.com for your chance to win passes to go see Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny in San Antonio at the River Center IMAX Theater downtown. Good
Nice.
luck to all.
Good luck, guys.
Cool. Let's get to our final discussion of the night. Secret Invasion just premiered on the Disney Plus streaming service. If you've seen our show before, this is where we sort of get into the details of an episode. So if you haven't seen it, right now is your opportunity to pause the stream right now, go check out episode 1, and then come back afterwards and let us know exactly what you guys thought. Episode 1 titled Resurrection. So here is your final warning. Spoilers from here on out. Here is the episode 1 summary
Spoiler
of
warning.
Secret Invasion, and it goes a little something like this. Episode 1, Resurrection. We open with Ross in Moscow meeting with Agent Prescott and his conspiracy theories. Prescott then attacks Ross, who shoots him, but we later discover that Ross is not who he seems. He is, in fact, a Skrull. Gavik, who is a leader of this rogue faction, is a Skrull with a chip on the shoulder who is hell bent on starting World War III between the US and Russia. A dirty bomb is now in the hands of this rogue group of Skrulls, and Nick Fury may be their only hope at stopping them. New Skrullos is a sanctuary for their kind. Gravik provides resources and allow his warriors to take the identity of humans they capture. Gaia, daughter of Talos, who we've met back in Captain Marvel, and who's played by Emilia Clarke, is part of their group as well, and betrays her father and allows these dirty bombs to go off in a Russian square. Before the episode ends, we see Nick Fury shooting Maria Hill in the stomach in the middle of the square, and she passes away, but not before we realize this is not Nick Fury. It is, in fact, the leader of this rogue scroll faction, Gravik. Gravik.
Graphic, yeah.
Uh, and that's where the episode ends. So this is intense, and I
Yeah.
love it. Mike, your instant reaction to the premiere of Secret Invasion?
More Samuel L. Jackson, the better. Um, and it kind of makes me wish we would have seen more of him. Uh, Maybe at the end of Endgame, popping up more than just at the funeral scene. But this was this was very like actually more intense version of like Captain America: Winter Soldier. For whatever it is, they've done pretty well with the kind of espionage, more grounded, real world, but political intrigue type stuff. Um, you know, Knowing what you know about scrolls and kind of what the idea is going to play on, it's almost like in the Mission Impossible movies, like you're waiting for that mask for them to pull off the mask of someone else, and you're waiting for someone to turn scroll. So something was going on in that first scene. It's like, all right, is it Agent Ross or is it the other guy who's going to be the scroll? Like you knew one of them had to be one way or the other. Um, so that was kind of fun because also in kind of the bigger picture timeline, I kind of wonder where this winds up with Black Panther because Ross was involved in a lot of stuff in the Black Panther movie. So you're kind of just wondering, is this post that? Is it, you're never quite sure with Marvel movies. They do have to kind of confirm sometime where they are in relation to each other. Um, but yeah, like seeing Samuel L. Jackson back, kind of just naturally falling into that Nick Fury. And maybe it's Samuel L. Jackson. Maybe that's not Nick Fury. Like maybe it's just him being him, and Nick Fury has kind of become that. But it's great seeing him on screen. He carries a lot of these scenes. Really interested to see what played out with Emilia Clarke's character. Um, with her being the daughter, that we see in Captain Marvel originally, finding out the mother died because of Gravik, according to Talos. But we thought that turned her, and we thought they got to her emotionally, and then find out the end. It doesn't seem like they did because she supposedly marked the bags, but they were the empty bags. So, granted, that was the end of episode one. So, did she do that on purpose, or was Gravik ahead of the game was he three chess moves ahead of the game, and did he make her think she had done it successfully, and then change it himself? So, it'll be interesting to see what comes, but solid first episode. Really enjoyed it. And then, of course, with Marvel movies, I never know if I have to stay for post-credit scenes, but there did not appear to be one for this. So.
I will first piggyback off what you at first mentioned. Winter Soldier, still to this day, my favorite MCU
It is
or just
definitely up
favorite
there for
Marvel
me.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still at my absolute top because it had a certain powerful tone that has not been matched. Maybe Infinity War got really close to it,
Mhm.
but there was just something about Winter Soldier that really, really worked for me. Like when I mentioned we were talking about the Batman movie earlier, and I was
Yeah.
like, I wasn't really invested or engaged. I was hooked from like the very beginning
Yeah.
car chase with not Tony Stark, with Nick Fury.
Yeah.
With Nick Fury, you know, the machine guns in the middle of the street, the chase and all that.
Hmm.
I was like, this is insane. This is
Yeah.
incredible. Um, Come to find out later that the Russo brothers actually tried to capture the essence of my all-time favorite movie, Heat. Robert De
Yeah.
Niro, Val Kilmer, Al Pacino, still my all-time greatest movie at the top of my list. And the fact that they try to capture that essence
Yeah.
of Heat showed me before I knew that what I had attached myself to was that sort of storytelling and how well they directed those action sequences. Back to this show.
Yeah.
I am hooked because this also is getting into what you talked about, that espionage, that sort of mystery, that caper type story. We're already there. I didn't get that with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I hate to say, I thought that was going to be our first introduction into that sort of that type of story, but we didn't really get it. It was more of a grounded personal tale of those two characters and what they were going through, which is completely fine. MCU, they had to kind
Yeah.
of go back and start deconstructing their characters, post
Right.
Endgame, and so I get it. I get it. But this one, right up my alley. This
Yeah.
one is going to be really intriguing to kind of watch, and I will also add another question to your list of questions because you mentioned Gaia. Did Gravik get to her? Did Gravik plan this all along? My third question I'll add to that list is that even really Gaia? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
scrolls can impersonate other
Anybody, yeah,
scrolls,
that's a
right?
good point.
Or
Yeah. Well, a human. So obviously,
humans.
Gaia's
She's
impersonating someone human, but that doesn't mean another scroll can impersonate that human. Gotcha. Yeah. So.
and they've already introduced us to that, right? Because
Mm.
because it happened in this episode. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm not gonna figure it out.
Well,
There,
Gravik, he becomes like two or three different people himself.
yeah.
Um,
It's
because
in there somewhere.
are you talking about where someone impersonates another scroll's human or something like that? That specifically?
Yeah. So like appearance wise, I think any scroll can take over the appearance of anybody.
Yeah.
And then in the comics, you also got their thoughts and memories, and
Right.
not their emotions. There's something like that where like there was one last part you weren't able to get. I forget what it is, but all I'm just trying to say is like, yeah, they're going to be able to take over the appearance. We saw that at the end with the fake Nick Fury. That one I kind of saw a mile away, but still impactful. My son, who's still reeling after that final scene, he's just like, no,
I you
uh,
know,
pour one out to Kobe. I mean, I get it. She's been here since day one, right?
yeah.
We first saw her in Avengers, and you have to let go of a character after that long.
Right.
So I get it. It happens. I am excited, but yeah, I'll bring up. We don't know if that was Gaia. That
Well,
could.
yeah, so on that, let me add this kind of question to it. Do we get a scene where we see human Amelia Clark in that kind of tied up or whatever on the gurney with the electrodes, and do we see the human that guy is copying at some point? Because obviously she copied someone, right?
Sure.
Does that human come into play? Do we get a little Easter egg of her maybe somewhere later on, kind of connected with what you're saying? That might be interesting as well.
Here's the plot twist. Gaia, she's copying Amelia Clark, the Game of Thrones actress.
This is like Ocean's 12, where they get Julia Roberts in to
Yeah,
pretend to be Julia Roberts. Yeah.
that's what's gonna happen. No, that's
Uh,
awesome. Yeah, you know what? I mean, I my first thought is like Talos. Who did he copy? I mean, that guy is definitely not, in a closet somewhere tied up to these electrodes. Maybe he overtook somebody who passed. I don't know
Well,
if we ever
no,
saw
Talos.
that.
That was yeah, Captain Marvel. He took over the other Shield guy.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Remember? Because in Captain Marvel, Ben
I
Mendelsohn
don't.
plays a Shield character. He's not a director, but he's there with Fury, and at some point, that's who Talos takes over. I don't remember exactly what happens to the original guy. I don't think he died, but I don't remember. Maybe he did die. But that's where it comes from. That goes back to Captain Marvel. Another thing, and I don't think this is going to happen because this is so grounded in kind of real world stuff. But if this is the daughter from from Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, who we're going to see later this year, or I think it's still this year in the Marvels, grew or spent some time with her when they were in the 90s, right? Because uh, Monica Rambeau as a little kid was there with her mom when Captain Marvel was there. Brie Larson's character, Carol Danvers, and then the Skrulls were there with the little girl. They have some connection to each other. I don't think they would bring her into a show like this because then that would kind of be more space power stuff like that. But there's a connection there. Also, on a personal note, because I've heard this rumor for so long, I'm still holding out, and this may add credence to it with us losing Maria Hill. There is that rumor that's been going on about Quake, Daisy Johnson from Agents of Shield showing up and kind of being retconned into this reality. So I'm kind of holding on for Chloe Bennett by the end of the six episode series. So
Chloe. I never finished that show. I want to, so I'll go back. I
it's
think I only have like 2 seasons left.
in a weird way when it was allowed to stop having to connect back to the movies as much. It actually found itself really well. Like I have this nostalgic connection to the first season of Agents of Shield. It had a really good like found family story going on, and then it had to connect with Winter Soldier, kind of going back to that because of the Hydra twist. So right as you started this series called Agents of Shield, in the movie, Shield disbands because Hydra was in it. So like right off the bat, in almost like three-fourths the way through season one, they had to be like, oh, Shield broke up, and we're all like, some of us are traitors, and that they touched on the Inhumans before that not so great series and stuff, but they always had to like connect back to the movies a little bit. Honestly, once that division came with Feige and I forgot the other guy that Feige finally said that's different a little bit. We're not as connected to that as we used to be. They found some interesting stuff toward the end, and it was pretty good. And so I would love several of the characters. Ming Na Wen, who is going to be at the superhero comic book show, just to kind of bring it back to that too, played a
Oh
great
yeah.
character in that called the Cavalry, who was like a Shield agent. And they mention no, they don't mention her. They mention Barton and Black Widow in the show, like referring to other agents. But yeah, but like this tying it back to the episode in this series, like you said, this political intrigue stuff they've done really well. I know it's not Shield anymore per se, but they still talk about he was up at Saber for a long time, and honestly, that idea of like her questioning him, did he give up? Several people mention you were not the same after the blip, you were not the same after you came back. Um, that's obviously going to be an interesting story to see with him as we go through the series, and where does it connect back into the bigger universe of Marvel?
I like that they're doing that. Samuel Jackson isn't the type of person to like have people walk all over him, but
Yeah,
he's so methodical about it. Like even when he's talking to this MI6 director,
yeah,
apologies that I can't remember her name right
yeah,
now.
yeah.
He's like letting her walk all over him and like talking down to him, being condescending, not sharing information. And oh, by the way, he's got like this spy lens he put
He planted on the cat, yeah, the cat's
on this
tattoo.
owl.
Or
Yeah,
is
there
it
you
Al?
go.
Yeah, You're right. You're right.
And I'm just like, I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
This is so great.
that's
You
what
know,
I
he's
mean. Like
always
he's. I mean, it's Samuel L. Jackson. So, but he does. He knows how to play those scenes for what it needs, right? And in that scene,
absolutely.
she's supposed to be the MI6 telling him, "Oh, you're washed up. You're not what you used to be. Let me take care of this, you old man." Oh, okay, I guess you're right. And he's still ahead of the game. So
Absolutely. I just love that they're diving into the psyche of
yeah,
Nick Fury. I mean, he can't save everybody. He figured that out when the blip happened
right,
during Infinity War. And you never really think about that as a fan. Like, how much responsibility did he take?
right.
We know the Avengers all felt bad and responsible, but we never really got his feelings because he wasn't around in
Mm.
Infinity War when that happened. So this is great. I'm actually happy and glad that they're diving into this exploration of Nick Fury's psyche and everything else because it makes perfect sense. He brought this team together all these years ago, 15 odd some odd years ago for this very reason, and now he's going through it. He feels like he failed. He feels like he's no use to anybody.
I do like that joke when him and Talos Ben Mendelsohn are walking by, and he says something about a midlife crisis, and he goes, "What did you do? I got the Avengers." No, but
So good, so
yeah,
good.
it really is. Um, but yeah, like I'm interested to see because this Gravik, they built him pretty strong right off this first episode. He's not playing. He's another one of these villains that looks like he knows everything that's going on before you do, before you realize he's there. So, real intriguing to see what comes of that. Also, it's kind of one of those things because like the people that show up at New Scrollos, they're not bad people in and of themselves, right? They're scrolls trying to find sanctuary. They show that first scene with Amelia Clark's character bringing in that new person, giving him some sort of plant or whatever it is, food that is native to the scrolls planet. And obviously, like it's a pride of your people thing, right? Like you're refugees and you just want to take care of them, but then you have that extremist side with Gravik, and she's kind of bought into it. You think, but like you said, maybe that wasn't her at the end that messed things up.
I'm wondering where is the big twist going to come from? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
This is a story I never thought we'd get. I always thought to myself when I watched Captain Marvel, what a missed opportunity. All we have is these like good guy scrolls. Like, where are the badasses that we read in the comics that were taking over the
yeah,
planet left and right? Here they are.
yeah. They
So
were planting those seeds.
exactly right. And so I'm gonna be looking out for where's the plot twist. Are we gonna find out towards the end of this thing that Fury's been Skrull this entire time? That would be the most far fetched thing if they were to give us that.
I feel like no at this point, only because they small pulled that in Spider-Man Far From Home, where you found out that him and Maria were Talos and his wife, which is why people were like, "Oh, that's why they weren't on top of things as they seem to have been." I do have not to get too far ahead of things because it's only episode one, but maybe to kind of keep this over our heads. Does Fury survive this series?
Ooh.
Does he have to sacrifice himself, go out on his sword to prevent the big catastrophe, the World War III? Um, Again, we're moving into this new phase of Marvel overall. A lot of the characters, a lot of those main characters have died, gone away, aren't being used as much. I kind of like that some of the smaller ones are able to be these kind of connectors. Like Rhodey again is going to be in this. Rhodey was also in Captain America and the Winter Soldier. So it's nice that even though he didn't always have a big part in the older movies in the Infinity Saga, he kind of is able to be uh, this connection to the old as we kind of move forward with this stuff. And Fury himself, obviously, same kind of thing, which is why I question. does he survive this series? Is this kind of his swan song, a la Black Widow before before she went out in um, Infinity War in the first one? I couldn't think of which one it was.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping. Oh well, then she got her own movie, right? I'm kind of
Yeah,
hoping that. Ooh, I got another question for you, but I'm kind of hoping that Samuel Jackson sticks around at least till Avengers 4. I really want to see
technically it's
him
five.
back. Say it again.
Technically it's five.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, but I know what you mean.
Secret Wars. Yeah,
Secret Wars is first because Kang Dynasty is the one that comes after, right? At least at what they had given us.
I think it's reversed. My bad. I think it's Kang Dynasty then Secret Wars.
But the next one where they're kind of
But the
getting back
next
together.
one.
Okay.
But the next one. I hope we get to see him back in that capacity just because um he belongs in that setting. And do you yet have a central leader type figure? Is he going to have to be that mentor to that person, whoever it may be, whether it's Carol, whether it's Tom Holland, Spider Man, whoever
Mhm.
that may be the case? I want to see him in that setting. And then I did have
Well,
something
he
else pop in my mind, and I forgot what it was.
Well, real quick, while you're
It'll
kind
come
of
back.
thinking, he has that strong connection to Carol Danvers. They've established that from Captain Marvel. They established that when she came back in Infinity War. So, and a lot of people are kind of assuming when there's an Avengers again, because right now there's not really an Avengers in the world. Iron Man's gone, Black Widow's gone. Cap, we still haven't confirmed whether he died of old age, whether he's on the moon. There's that joke about that. Thor's around, but he's out in space. Hawkeye's around, but he's kind of trying to get back to his family, and he's training Kate Bishop. Uh, we assume Hulk's around, but he showed up in She-Hulk with his son from Sakaar. So there's no like united group. There's no Avengers Tower. There's no Avengers training camp that got blown up in Endgame. So when you have to pull them together, I say that, and then actually there was some working going on between Hulk, Carol Danvers, and Wong, which I think we saw in Shang Chi.
Yeah.
So they're connected, but again, they're not really a group. Um, so I think like getting back to my original point, if Carol Danvers is going to be the one to lead that, she has the strongest connection to Nick Fury, and that would be kind of the best way to do that then, because in the original Avengers, they didn't have a connection to Fury. He kind of manipulated them into becoming a group in that first one, and then they respected him, but they never had the connection with him the way Carol seems to. So,
My question that I just remembered is him and Talos are talking, and then Fury brings up somebody they lost. And in my head, I was like, is that a reference to Tony? Did you take it as that?
oh, yeah, that's I'm trying to remember the next scene, but I remember thinking the same thing. Um, that's because it was in the same conversation, I think, where he was talking about not being the same after the blip came up. Because I do remember thinking that as my first thought is that it's probably Tony because he sacrifices himself with the second snap or the third snap at that point. Um, yeah, so probably. Um, Obviously, Fury cared about them. Like I said, they didn't have the connection, but he always did what he could to get them in the right place. But I do think that's probably what they were referencing.
That
Um,
was my first thought. I know there's at least two people that might fit that bill. Either it's Tony and Cap, because Cap was technically the first, right?
could be
If you
Black
want to,
Widow
if
too, because she was actually Shield. She was more connected to Fury. Actually, it could be Black Widow also,
could be, and that
because she was
was
an
kind
actual
of,
Shield agent.
yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
So that's curious, and I don't think we'll get an official answer, but my first thought's Tony because Tony was his first contact recruitment for the Avengers Initiative.
Yeah.
But definitely he talked to Captain America. I guess it was after Tony, right? Is when he first met Steve Rogers. Even though Steve had ties to Shield, but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's
Right.
curious. Yeah,
Also, do you think we see a flashback to Talos's wife's death, since it seems to be a big thing between Gravik, Gaia, Talos? Um, it kind of makes me wonder if we're going to see like a flashback or what actually happened, because it seems to be a big sticking point. Obviously, like when we talked about earlier, but when he told her her mom was dead, she was shocked. She didn't know. So, kind of wondering too there if that's something we see as we get more into the series.
I think so because it would, Gaia was all about this plan, right?
Yeah,
Up until the middle of this episode. Like she knows what she's doing, she knows what the plan is. She's not really, she's not really hesitant about what they're doing until she learns her mother's past. And
right.
then there's some sort of hesitation. It's enough for Gravik to, question her when she says, maybe we should delay. And I don't think it was Gravik. I think it was the other guy, his
It was
second in
like his
command.
yeah, it was like his
It was,
lieutenant.
yeah, it was
Mhm.
his second. But that's why I think that, man, this thunder is like shaking the whole house. That's why I think that maybe that's not her at the end because there is a little bit of hesitation there, and there's going to be a need to kind of bring her back in, or pull her back from this group. And it may be the revelation that her mother did die at the hands of this rogue scroll faction, or maybe what's going to pull her back is the sacrifice of Talos. I
Yeah,
don't think I don't think we see a lot of people get out of this series alive, unfortunately.
yeah, I'm thinking that like they set the precedent with Hill, and then you got that idea because a lot of these characters either have a legacy or maybe not needed as much going forward. And the another question is because, not to get too off tangent, but I saw an interesting thing that like, oh, we don't have a Young Avengers movie on the slate right now. And I'm like, all you've done since Endgame is like introduce a whole group, which is cool. Like, don't get me wrong, but also is Amelia Clark moving forward? Does she get redeemed and does she become a regular part of helping the Avengers, Saber, whatever whatever it is going forward, and however that comes together? Because you got to feel with someone like Amelia Clark, you can't well, you can't have her the bad guy the whole time, right? Maybe at the end when she's burning a city down with a dragon, but that's another story.
That's another story. Yeah, and to also piggyback off that, um, maybe the way you get out of that, because you're like, oh, she can't be redeemed because of what she's done. If that's not her,
Yeah.
there's nothing to even redeem to begin with.
Uh,
So there
you know,
you go.
I've kind of missed these. Like, now it's got to be another 1 week till I got to catch up on this. It's been a while since those early shows.
There's also like a good and bad thing about this series in particular is that it's 6 episodes. We don't have a long time to
No,
we're not 10, 12 episodes,
right?
waiting to see how this finishes. Um so it's going to get moving pretty soon,
Yeah,
and it's going to be good to watch. Yeah, Amelia Clark, how lucky are we? I mean, she just dropped on this show, and also, by the way, oh, she's in town for the
right.
superhero Comic Con and Car Show coming
And
up
let's see. That's
very
so
soon,
we'll see her right after the third episode, pretty much next week. Yeah, right after
right
episode
after the
three.
third episode. And there might be, third episodes in Marvel shows are always like bangers, right? There's always
Especially
like a
with the
big
6
twist.
episode run, there's gotta be something there, so yeah, that should be fun.
Boom! Superhero Comic Con car show. Oh man, yeah, we'll be able. I mean, we'll be able to say like, "Hey, half the season's already over," like, and we'll be able to talk about it. How great is that? The only
Yeah,
thing better would be like, after it's over to talk about it. But
yeah.
even for her, most people don't get to talk about their shows at
What's going on?
conventions. Yeah, I
Yeah,
spoke with Sasha Kaye before anybody had seen the Flash movie, and so it was very like, well, you can't talk about anything, but tell us what you're feeling,
yes.
and that's always
Yes, we know you did, you lucky man.
If you want to go see any of our interviews, you can always do that on YouTube at Countdown to the Geeks. There you will find interviews with Supergirl herself, David, who just interviewed Diego Luna, Ray, who's interviewed almost half the cast of Primo on Freevee, which is a fantastic show.
Reverse, right?
Freevee by Amazon. Freevee,
I
F R
think
E
it's
E V E E.
okay, I thought it was Freeverse, but maybe I'm wrong.
Check it out.
Mm,
Yeah, this is great. I'm glad we're talking about another Marvel show. It's feel like it's been way too long, so
yeah.
I'm glad we're doing it, and I'm glad you're here, Mike.
Yeah, it was
We want to
fun.
hear from you guys. Let us know your thoughts on the premiere of Marvel's Secret Invasion. It's so good to see Sam Jackson back as Fury,
Yeah, it
especially
really is.
because he is a diehard Spurs fan. So I'm always willing to talk about Sam Jackson. Let us know your thoughts in the comments, or you can always message us on Facebook by clicking that send message button, or you can always email us on the contact page of our website at www.countdowntothegeeks.com. Right there, right over there. Let's see. We got a great rest of the month because we're going to be counting down to Superhero Comic Con and Car Show. So please join us each and every week while we also discuss Secret Invasion featuring Sam Jackson, Amelia Clark, and a host of other fantastic actors. It's going to be It's going to be amazing. I can already feel it. I feel like this was the right first step, getting it off the ground, and I'm so excited. We will be reviewing Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny next week, so check out that video. And we also have like another 3 or 4 interviews that we're dropping, so be sure to check those out. Mike, you and the WrestleCast are doing a stream tonight. What are you going to be talking about?
Yes, sir. I will be back in a couple hours with the WrestleCast. We are previewing AEW New Japan Forbidden Door, which is this weekend. And ladies and gentlemen, if you are a fan of wrestling of any kind, um, one of the biggest matchups that people have dreamed about for years is going down this Sunday in Brian Danielson versus Okada. I always mess up his first name, so I'm not even going to try to say it. Um, if you're used to WWE, the bigger stars, the Hulk Hogan stuff, it's not quite that. But if you have any love for the artistry of wrestling, the storytelling, the kind of amazing moves that can be done, this is going to be an amazing match coming this Sunday. And then on top of that, a rematch of Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay, who had a hell of a match earlier this year and a couple before that. So we'll be discussing all that. We'll be talking about all the local stuff. There's a lot of local indie news from San Antonio going on, some that involves another stuff we'll be at soon. So all of that and much more later tonight on the WrestleCast 9:15 special night. We're normally Thursdays, but we're going to be on tonight. So please join us right back here on the Countdown City Geeks YouTube.
Absolutely. Be sure to do that. And once again, if you had missed the announcement earlier, your opportunity to win passes to the San Antonio advanced screening of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is on our website at www.countdowntothegeeks.com. And good luck to folks. Be sure to
Free
arrive early.
passes to an IMAX movie. Do it.
I don't want to see anybody not getting in. So arrive early. It's first come, first serve. Seating is limited. No purchase necessary. That'll do it for this episode of the Countdown to the Geekcast. Once again, my name is Ted, aka Steady. This is the countdown to the superhero Comic Con and car show. For more information, visit pmxevents.com. And joining me on this episode is the one and only Big Mike.
Thanks, guys. Hope to see some of y'all later tonight.
Take it easy, guys. Peace.
Retro is San Antonio's most popular 80s and 90s retro store. Band tees, stickers, records, DVDs, jewelry, novelties, electronics, collectibles. Real Retro is your #1 source back to the 80s and 90s. Come relive the best years of your life. Real Retro,